The first time I realized my marriage was over, it was a Tuesday night, and the sound that did it was the little ding from our iPad. Tessa was at the kitchen island with her laptop open, hair still damp from the shower, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts like nothing in the world could touch her. She didn't look up when she said, "I took care of it, we're fine." I dried my hands on a dish towel and asked, "Took care of what?" She finally met my eyes. Her face was calm in that practiced way people get when they've already decided the argument for both of you. The money, the squeeze, I fixed it. The iPad dinged again on the counter. Another notification. Tessa slid the device away from me without even thinking, like a reflex, like a cashier protecting the till. I nodded once, okay. I didn't confront her, not yet. Hey friends, please like this video and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you, it's all thanks to you. When I say we built a life, I don't mean anything glamorous. I mean a normal life in Duluth, Minnesota. I mean coffee that tasted like coffee, not dessert. I mean a condo with an HOA that cared deeply about mulch. I mean a dog that shed like it was his job. I mean routine. I'm Calvin, I'm 48. I work as an insurance claims adjuster. It's steady work. It's not exciting, but it's honest. I drive around, take pictures, read reports, listen to people tell me what happened, and try to be fair. I'm good at staying calm when someone is upset. It's part of the job. Tessa was 39 when we met. She worked in HR at a hospital across town. She liked to say she handled the people problems. She was sharp and confident and always had a plan. At first, that felt like relief, like I could finally stop carrying every decision by myself. We dated for 2 years and got married in a small ceremony at a lakeside park. Nothing fancy, just family, a few friends, and a windy afternoon where the photographer kept chasing a runaway veil. After we got married, we bought a condo together. 2 bedrooms, 2nd floor, with a small balcony that looked out at the parking lot and a patch of trees beyond it. The HOA was strict, but the building was quiet. It felt safe. It felt like something we could grow old in. That's what mattered to me: stability, predictable bills, a little set aside for repairs, a little set aside for vacations, not much debt beyond the mortgage, and one joint credit card we paid off every month. Tessa said she wanted the same thing. In hindsight, there were signs, not big dramatic signs, small ones, the kind you explain away because you love someone and you don't want to be the suspicious husband who counts pennies. The first red flag was her sudden interest in optimizing our finances. She started watching finance videos and talking about leverage like she'd invented the concept. She made spreadsheets. She changed our grocery budget categories. She started calling my emergency fund dead money. One night she said, "You know, we could be doing more with this." I said, "We're doing fine." She smiled like I was a child. Fine is not the goal, Cal. The second red flag was the mail. She began checking it the second it hit the box, even if I was standing right there. If I picked up an envelope, she'd ask, too quickly, "What is that?" The third red flag was her phone. She used to leave it on the counter. Then it was always face down. Then it was always in her pocket. If I walked into the room, she'd swipe the screen dark like she was closing a secret door. The fourth red flag was how often she forgot to tell me things until they were already done. She'd schedule repairs without asking. She'd agree to weekend plans and tell me the night before. She'd volunteer us for things. When I'd say, "I wish you'd talk to me first," she'd sigh and say, "I didn't think you'd mind." The fifth red flag was her tone whenever money came up. It wasn't fear. It wasn't stress. It was irritation, like money was a tool and I was using it wrong. I still didn't think she'd do what she did. That Tuesday, the iPad dinged because we shared it. It was our house device. We used it for recipes, streaming, the HOA portal, and the occasional FaceTime with my sister Leela. Our bank app was on it because it was easier to check the joint account while we paid bills. Tessa had set up alerts to stay on top of things. Every deposit and withdrawal over a certain amount triggered a notification. She said it was for transparency. I'm standing there in the kitchen, looking at my wife, who just told me she fixed the money, and she's sliding the iPad away like it's hot. I didn't grab it, I didn't snatch, I didn't demand. I just said, evenly, "What did you do, Tess?" She exhaled like I'd inconvenienced her. I consolidated. "It's normal. People do it all the time." Consolidated what? Our cards, the payment, the pressure. She leaned back on the stool and crossed her arms. I got a personal loan through North Shore Credit Union. It pays off the high-interest stuff. Now we have one payment. I repeated. Her eyes flicked away, then back. Don't start. I held my voice steady. How much? It doesn't matter. It's handled. That usually means it matters, I said. She pushed her laptop screen down halfway and gave me that HR look, the one she used when she wanted someone to feel unreasonable. If you're going to interrogate me, I'm not doing this. I nodded again. Okay. She stood, picked up her water glass, and walked toward the hallway like she'd won. The iPad dinged a third time. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close. Then I walked to the counter and picked up the iPad. The notification was still there. New loan disbursement, $18,500. Below that in smaller text, monthly payment, $412, due date, 15th. My stomach didn't drop like it does in movies. It didn't flip. It tightened, slow and cold, like someone cinching a strap around my ribs. We didn't have $18,500 worth of high-interest stuff. We had a couple thousand that came and went on the card, and we paid it. So I opened the bank app. And I saw it. A transfer out of our joint checking, 3 weeks earlier, for $7,200. Description: Bright Path Debt Relief. My thumb hovered. I didn't click anything else yet. I didn't dig through every line. I didn't start building a case right then. I shut the iPad off and set it back exactly where it had been. Because in my line of work, when something looks wrong, you don't start yelling, you start documenting. And you figure out what is actually true. The next morning, I did what I always did. I got up at 5:45. I made coffee. I fed the dog. I packed my lunch. Tessa walked out wearing scrubs under a winter coat, hair in a neat twist. She kissed my cheek like the night before hadn't happened. Have a good day, she said. You too, I said. She left. I sat at the table and stared at the quiet kitchen for a full minute. Then I opened my laptop and pulled my credit report, not because I thought she'd committed some big crime, because I didn't know what I was dealing with yet. There were 2 new accounts. A store card I didn't recognize, opened 8 months ago. And a personal line of credit opened 6 months ago. Both had my name on them. Both listed our address. My hand stayed steady. That surprised me, but I think something in me had already switched into claims mode. Observe, verify, don't assume, don't escalate. I took screenshots, I saved PDFs, I wrote down dates. Then I called my friend Marty on my way to work. Marty is a union electrician. He's the kind of guy who shows up when he says he will. He doesn't talk a lot, but he listens like it's his job. Cal, he said when he answered, you all right? I need you to do me a favor, I said. Not today, just soon. What kind of favor? If things go sideways at home, I might need a witness for an inventory, someone calm. He didn't ask for gossip, he just said, I'm in. At work, I didn't tell everyone. I told one person, Denise. Denise sits 2 cubicles over from me. She's been doing claims longer than I have. She's also the most organized human being I've ever met. Her desk looks like a museum exhibit. I told her quietly, I think my finances are about to get messy. She didn't ask for details. She said, separate accounts, freeze credit, and don't argue in text. Then she slid me a small sticky note with a name on it. Joel Raskin, she said, family law, my cousin used him, fair guy, calm. I put the note in my wallet like it was a key. That night, Tessa made chicken and rice like everything was normal. She talked about a nurse who was always late. She laughed at a story about a patient who brought a parrot to the ER. I nodded, I listened, I asked normal questions. And I watched her avoid the iPad. After dinner, she said, we should talk about the loan. Okay, I said. She sat across from me and opened her laptop. She had a document ready, a glossy chart with colors. I'm managing it, she said. You don't have to worry. What did it pay off? I asked. She clicked her tongue, the cards, the line, things. What line? I asked. Her eyes narrowed. Why are you acting like I did something wrong? Because I didn't know we had things, I said, still calm, and because it's our mortgage, our names, our life. She leaned forward. Do you know how embarrassing it is to be married to someone who thinks saving is a personality? I didn't react. I let the insult sit there like a bad smell. She continued, faster now. I was tired of living like we were one accident away from ruin. I'm trying to build something, and you just coast. I'm not coasting, I said. I'm paying our bills. She laughed sharp, barely. That laugh did something to me, not anger, clarity. I said, show me the accounts. No, she said immediately. I blinked once, why not? Because you'll make it a whole thing, she snapped. You'll freak out, you'll judge me, you always judge me. I'm asking because my name is on it, I said. It's handled, she repeated louder, like volume could replace facts. I nodded slowly, okay. And I stood up and started rinsing my plate. Behind me, she said, that's it, you're just going to sulk. I turned the faucet off. No, I'm going to get information. She scoffed, from who? Your spreadsheets. I looked at her, from the bank. She went still, you're not calling the bank. I'm calling the bank, I said, tomorrow. She pointed a finger at me like she was in a conference room. If you do that, you're telling me you don't trust me. I held her gaze. This isn't trust, this is liability. That was the moment the fight ended, not because we resolved anything, because she realized I wasn't going to be steered by guilt. She stood, grabbed her phone, and walked away again. That night I slept on my side of the bed and stared into the dark, listening to the heat click on and off. I kept thinking about those credit accounts, about the way she said we when she meant me, about how quickly she said no to showing me anything. I also kept thinking about something my dad used to say. People will call you controlling when you stop letting them control you. The next day, I called North Shore Credit Union during my lunch break. I didn't pretend to be anyone else. I didn't try to get into her private stuff. I asked about the loan with my name. The woman on the phone asked security questions, my information, my voice. Then she said, yes, Mr. Hale, I see a personal loan opened in your name and Ms. Hale's name. In my name, I repeated, and hers. Yes. When was it opened? 21 days ago. Was it signed in person? There was a pause while she checked. It was signed electronically. Do you have documentation of the signatures? I asked. We can provide the loan package to both borrowers, she said. Would you like it mailed or emailed? Emailed to the email on file, I said. Our shared email was on file. Tessa insisted on it when we set up utilities. One place for house stuff, she said back then. That afternoon, while I was still at work, the email came in. Subject, your loan documents. I didn't open it right away. Not because I was scared, because I knew once I opened it, the story would become real in a way it hadn't yet. When I did open it, I saw the signatures. My name typed. Her name typed. And a timestamp, 11:47 p.m., a night I'd been asleep on the couch after a long day of storm claims. I stared at that timestamp for a long time. I could have exploded. I could have marched home with papers in my hand. I could have demanded she explain. Instead, I did what I do for a living. I built a timeline. I checked our joint bank statements for the last year, slowly, carefully, one page at a time. I found payments to BrightPath Debt Relief. I found cash advances. I found a subscription to a business coaching program for $299 a month. I found that store card. It was for an online boutique, hundreds of dollars in charges, clothing, accessories, things that were not in our closet. And I found something else. Monthly transfers to a person named Omar S. At first I thought it might be a coworker or a friend. Then I remembered. Omar was the mortgage broker who helped us buy the condo. I pulled up his contact from an old email chain, same last name, same bank. I didn't know what that meant, but it wasn't normal. That night, I didn't confront her. I called Joel Raskin and made an appointment. Joel's office smelled like coffee and paper. He didn't have fancy art on the walls. He had certificates and a small photo of a fishing boat. He listened without interrupting while I explained the loan, the accounts, the documents. When I finished, he said, "First, you're doing the right thing by staying calm." "I don't feel calm," I admitted. "You're acting calm," he said. "That's what matters." Then he laid out the basics, not in dramatic terms, in practical terms. "Separate your finances," he said. "Open a new account in your name only. Redirect your paycheck. Keep paying the shared obligations that are in your name, like the mortgage, but stop feeding anything you don't understand." "What about the loan?" I asked. He exhaled. "We'll address it, but don't accuse her of crimes in writing. Keep communication short, document everything, and if you're going to separate, do it cleanly." He slid a yellow notepad toward me. "Make an inventory of the condo. Photos, videos, serial numbers if there's anything expensive. Not because you're going to get her, because people rewrite history when they panic." I thought of Tessa's laugh, the way she said I was barely paying bills, the way she said showing me accounts would be a whole thing. "People already rewrite history," I said. Joel nodded. "Exactly." On the way home, I stopped at a UPS store and rented a small storage unit, just a 5x5, nothing dramatic. I told myself it was for practical reasons. If I had to leave fast, I wanted a place to put important things. At home, Tessa was in a good mood. She had a candle lit, music playing. "I made chili," she said, like she was auditioning for Normal. I ate a bowl. I thanked her. I kept my face neutral. Then she said casually, "So, did you calm down?" I set my spoon down. This was the moment I'd promised myself I wouldn't turn into a screaming match. I could feel my pulse in my throat, but my voice stayed level. "I got the loan documents," I said. Her smile faltered for a half second, then she recovered, and my signature is timestamped at 11:47 on a night I was asleep," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, are we doing this?" "Yes," I said, "we're doing this." She leaned back and crossed her arms. "You're acting like I stabbed you. It's a loan, Calvin. Adults use loans." "You opened credit accounts in my name," I said. Her eyes flashed. "They're for us." "Show me everything," I said. "All accounts, all balances." "No," she said again, like it was a power word. I held her gaze. "Then we're done." She blinked. "Excuse me." "I'm not staying married to someone who uses my name like a tool," I said. "If you want a marriage, you show the numbers." She scoffed. "So you're threatening me?" "I'm stating a boundary," I said. She stood up fast, chair scraping. "You're unbelievable. After everything I do, you're going to leave because I tried to help." I didn't match her energy. I didn't raise my voice. I said, "I'm meeting with an attorney." That stopped her like she'd hit a wall. Her face went pale, then red. "You already?" "Yes," I said. She pointed at me. "You planned this." "No," I said. "You did." She grabbed her phone and stormed to the bedroom. I heard drawers opening, closing, a cabinet slam. I stayed at the table. And I did something small that felt huge. I opened my own bank app on my phone and changed the direct deposit for my paycheck. That was the start of my quiet logistics plan, beat by beat, no drama, no speeches, just steps. The next day, I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. I filed a fraud alert. I printed copies of my credit report and the loan documents and put them in a folder. I made a video walkthrough of the condo while Tessa was at work. I opened closets. I panned over electronics. I spoke the date out loud. I moved my passport, my birth certificate, and my dad's old watch into the storage unit. I changed my work account passwords, not because she'd hack anything, because I didn't want any overlap, clean lines. I made a list of shared bills: mortgage, HOA dues, utilities, insurance. Then I called the HOA property manager, Rhea. Ria was one of those people who sounded tired even when she said hello. She dealt with snow complaints and pet disputes and parking wars all day. I kept it simple. Ria, I said, I need to understand our account status. Are there any payment plans or changes requested? There was a pause. Mr. Hale, yes, actually. There's a special assessment payment plan requested last month. My chest tightened. For what? The roof reserve, she said. It's optional. Some residents choose it instead of paying the full assessment up front. How much is it? I asked. 3,000, she said. Payment plan over 12 months. I never agreed to that, I said. Well, your wife submitted it, she said, through the portal. Of course she did. Can you email me the request? I asked. It goes to the account email, she said. The shared email, I thought. Please do, I said, and can you schedule a meeting with both of us? Ria sounded wary. We don't get involved in marital disputes. I'm not asking you to, I said. I just want to correct account information. She agreed. That meeting became my finish line. Because here's the thing about people who operate in secrecy. They hate daylight. They hate neutral rooms. They hate third parties. Tessa thought she could manage me in private. She didn't realize I was about to take the story out of her hands. The week before the HOA meeting, she tried a different tactic. She became sweet. She brought home my favorite donuts from the bakery downtown. She sent me a photo of the dog with the caption, "He misses you when you're quiet." One night she climbed into bed and put her hand on my chest and said softly, "We can move past this." I stared at the ceiling. "Show me the accounts," I said. Her hand withdrew like she'd been burned. "You're obsessed." "No," I said, "I'm informed." Then she became cruel again. "You always need paperwork," she snapped one morning. "You can't just be a husband, you have to be a judge." I didn't respond. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to shout so she could say later, "See, this is why I didn't tell you." I didn't give it to her. Instead, I emailed Joel updates, short, factual, no emotion. The HOA meeting was on a Thursday at 6 p.m. in the building's small community room. Folding chairs, a cheap coffee station, a bulletin board covered in notices about trash bins. Ria sat at the front with a laptop. There were two other residents there, an older couple who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Tessa walked in late, heels clicking, hair perfect, wearing a blazer like she was going to interview someone. She sat beside me without looking at me. Ria cleared her throat. "Okay, thanks for coming. This is about the assessment payment plan request." Tessa smiled bright. "Yes, I submitted it because my husband gets anxious about big payments." I felt my jaw tighten, but my voice stayed calm. "That's not accurate," I said. Tessa's smile didn't move, but her eyes hardened. "Calvin, don't embarrass yourself." Ria looked between us like she regretted breathing. I slid a folder onto the table. Inside were printouts, not accusations, just documents. "Ria," I said, "can you confirm the date the request was submitted?" She checked her screen, November 6. "And can you confirm the email used?" I asked. She nodded. "The account email." I said, "That email is shared. We both receive it. I did not see this request until last week." Tessa let out a small laugh. "Oh, come on. You check your email like it's a religion." I didn't look at her. I looked at Ria. "I'm requesting," I said, "that the HOA account be changed to send duplicate notifications to my personal email as well." Ria blinked. "We can do that." "Thank you," I said. Tessa's face tightened. She leaned toward me and hissed under her breath, "You're doing this to punish me." I didn't whisper back. I didn't play. I said at normal volume, "I'm doing this so no financial decisions are hidden." The older couple shifted in their seats, not scandalized, just uncomfortable, which was fine. Neutral discomfort is better than private manipulation. Ria said carefully, "Do you want to keep the payment plan or?" "I want it canceled," I said. Tessa snapped her head toward me. "No, we're keeping it." I looked at her for the first time since we entered. We're not. Her eyes widened, like she wasn't used to being contradicted in front of someone else. She turned to Rhea. He's being controlling. This is what I deal with. Rhea's mouth tightened. Ma'am, I'm not. I cut in, still even. Rhea, please cancel the plan. I will pay the assessment in full from my account. Tessa's voice rose. You can't just decide that. I didn't raise mine. I can decide what I pay. Rhea nodded quickly, like she wanted to end the meeting before the coffee pot caught fire. Okay, we can cancel it. Tessa stood up so fast her chair scraped hard. Unbelievable. I stayed seated. She pointed at me. You're going to regret this. You think paperwork makes you a good man. It just makes you cold. I looked up at hers. And this was the line that ended it. I'd rather be cold than used, I said. It wasn't clever. It wasn't a movie speech. It was true. Tessa stared at me like she didn't recognize the person in the chair. Then she stormed out of the room, heels loud, blazer swinging like a flag. The older couple stared at the floor. Rhea exhaled and said quietly, Do you want me to walk you through the email change? Yes, I said, please. When I got home that night, the condo felt different, not because anything physical had changed, because I had made a decision in a public, documented way. I had stepped out of her private narrative. Tessa was in the bedroom with the door closed. I didn't knock. I went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and sat at the table with my folder. Then I wrote a note, not emotional, not insulting, just facts. Tessa, I am separating finances effective immediately. My paycheck is no longer going into the joint account. I will continue paying the mortgage and HOA dues while we sort this out through attorneys. Please communicate with me in writing only. I will be staying elsewhere starting Saturday. Calvin. I printed it, signed it, put it in an envelope. Then I emailed Joel. HOA plan canceled. Account now sends duplicate notices to my email. She escalated. I stayed calm. On Saturday morning, I packed while she was at work. Not dramatically, not everything, just essentials, clothes, toiletries, work documents, my folder, the dog's vet records, a couple framed photos that were actually mine from before we met. Marty came over and stood in the living room with his hands in his pockets, calm as a statue. You sure? He asked. I nodded, I'm sure. He watched while I took photos of the rooms, the drawers, the shelves. No arguments, no accusations, just inventory. When I finished, I put the note on the kitchen counter. I left my key on top. I didn't take the dog, that hurt, but legally and practically, it was messy. The dog was adopted during the marriage. Tessa loved him too. I wasn't going to turn it into a tug-of-war. Instead, I took a copy of the adoption paperwork and left the original in the folder with Joel's instructions. Marty helped me carry 2 boxes to my car. Want me to stay? He asked. No, I said, this part is mine. I walked through the condo one last time, the quiet hum of the fridge, the soft tick of the wall clock, the scent of that stupid cinnamon candle she loved. Then I closed the door behind me. At the furnished apartment I'd rented, I sat on the edge of a bed that wasn't mine and listened to the silence. It wasn't loneliness. It was relief. The fallout started within hours. Tessa called me 14 times. I didn't answer. She texted, How could you abandon me like this? I didn't answer. She texted again, You can come back if you apologize. I didn't answer. Then the flying monkeys arrived, right on schedule. Her mother, Marlene, messaged me on Facebook, I always knew you were selfish. A coworker of hers I'd met once at a holiday party sent a long text about how real men don't run. I didn't argue with any of them. I responded with one line, copied and pasted. Please direct any concerns to my attorney. Then I blocked where I needed to block. Tessa shifted her narrative quickly. On Monday, she emailed me from the shared email account with the subject line, Urgent. Inside, she wrote, The bank is calling. You need to help me fix this. This is your fault too. I forwarded it to Joel and didn't respond. Joel filed for legal separation that week with a request for temporary orders around finances, not dramatic orders, basic ones, no new debt, no large withdrawals, keep paying the mortgage. When Tessa received the paperwork, she called me from an unknown number. I answered because it could have been work. Her voice was sweet again. "Cal, why are you doing this?" I stared out the window at the gray winter sky, snow stacked on the curb like dirty cotton. "I'm doing this because you hid debt," I said, "and you used my name." She sighed like I was exhausting. "I did it for us." "For you," I corrected. She paused. "Okay, fine, I was scared." That was the first honest thing she'd said in weeks. "What were you scared of?" I asked. "Silence." Then she said, "Not being enough." I almost laughed, but not because it was funny, because it was the perfect line, the kind of line that sounds deep and vulnerable but doesn't actually explain the transfers, the accounts, the refusal to show statements. I kept my voice soft but firm. Being scared doesn't give you permission. She snapped again. "So you're just going to ruin me?" "I'm not ruining you," I said. "I'm separating from your choices." She went quiet, then said, cold, "You'll be sorry when everyone knows who you really are." I didn't argue. "Have a good day, Tessa." And I hung up. The next month was paperwork and patience. Joel sent letters. The bank investigated the loan signature issue. Because it was in my name, I had the right to dispute it. That process was slow. It involved affidavits. It involved more documents than anyone should have to sign in one lifetime. I didn't talk about it online. I didn't post. I didn't expose her. I simply let the systems do what systems do when you give them facts. Meanwhile, I kept paying the mortgage from my new account. I kept the condo insured. I kept my side clean. Tessa didn't. Late fees started showing up on the joint card she'd been using. The BrightPath payments bounced when the joint account didn't have enough money anymore. One afternoon, a letter from the hospital's payroll department arrived in the shared inbox. It was a general notice about wage garnishments and employee assistance programs, not addressed to her specifically, but it was the kind of thing HR notices when your credit problems start becoming legal problems. She called me again after that, crying. This time it sounded real. It sounded like the floor had finally given way under the story she'd been telling herself. "Cal," she said, voice shaking, "please, I can't do this alone." I didn't gloat, I didn't punish. I said, "You're not alone, you have an attorney." She gasped like I'd slapped her. "You're so cold." I closed my eyes. "No, I'm consistent." Then I repeated it because I needed her to hear it. "I'm consistent." There's a peace that comes from consistency. People can call it cold, they can call it cruel, but when you live with someone who rewrites reality, consistency is how you survive. In late spring, we mediated. We sat in a neutral office with a mediator who spoke like a teacher trying to keep a classroom calm. Tessa wore another blazer. I wore a plain button-down. She tried to paint a story about how I was obsessed with money, and she was forced to take action. Joel didn't argue with her. He didn't attack her. He slid documents across the table. Dates, amounts, alerts, the loan package with timestamps, the credit report showing accounts I didn't open. The mediator looked at Tessa and said, gently, "These are significant omissions." Tessa's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she didn't have a clean comeback. We reached an agreement. We sold the condo, not because I wanted to take it away, because neither of us could afford to keep it without trusting the other. Trust was gone. The proceeds went to paying down the shared debt first, not all of it, but enough to stop the bleeding. The personal loan was restructured. The disputed portion was still under review, but the bank made it clear. They didn't love the timeline, and they didn't love how quickly Tessa refused transparency. Tessa took responsibility in writing for the store card and the coaching subscription. She kept the dog. I kept my retirement account intact. Nobody won in a movie way. I won in a quieter ways. I got out with my credit mostly intact, my job steady, and my nervous system finally able to breathe. A few months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Tessa at a grocery store. It was the kind of ordinary moment that used to feel safe in my marriage. She was at the end of an aisle staring at canned soup like she'd forgotten what she came for. Her hair was pulled back, no blazer, no perfect polish, just a tired woman in a hoodie. When she saw me, her shoulders went stiff. I didn't turn away, I didn't chase her either. I just nodded, Tessa. She swallowed, Calvin. We stood there with a cart between us, like a neutral border. She looked down at my hands, no ring, then she looked up again. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it, she said. I did, I said. Her eyes glassed. You really didn't love me enough to fight. I took a slow breath. I could have argued. I could have explained every night I stayed quiet, every time I asked to see the accounts, every time I chose calm over chaos. Instead, I said the simplest truth. I fought, I told her, just not the way you wanted. She blinked and a tear fell. She wiped it fast like she was embarrassed. I'm sorry, she whispered. I believed she was sorry in that moment. I also knew sorry wasn't a bridge back. I nodded once. I hope things get better for you. She looked up, almost hopeful, like she wanted me to offer something more. I didn't. I said take care. Then I walked away. Outside, the air was cool and clean. The parking lot smelled like summer asphalt. Birds in the trees made that steady, ordinary noise that people forget to notice until life stops shouting. I sat in my car for a moment before turning the key. I didn't feel triumph. I felt something better. Please. And the quiet knowledge that the strongest thing I did wasn't exposing her or punishing her. It was choosing reality. Every time,